forensic fields, and you might want to practice with it. You never know. Anyway, there's also internet data. We want to know what the person was doing on the internet. We dealt with this in an earlier lecture, so I'm going to try to do this quickly and without that much detail. The fact is that if we know what the person visited, websites the person visited, that tells about the person. If there was an arson, and we look at his what he's been doing on the internet, we realize this guy's been visiting, all kinds of arson websites. Well, again, that adds suspicion to him. And if we know the person is guilty or something, who did they contact via the internet? Maybe that other person was involved in the crime. So we can certainly use this information. So we look through the internet cache, the cookies, the internet history, and the bookmarks. That's what we look for. The internet cache is information on the websites visited. Sometimes the website doesn't want to reload the page entirely, so it saves the page on your own computer. So we find the internet cache, we can find the websites that were visited. And maybe we can even reconstruct the entire website from there. Also, we check for cookies. This is when the website puts little bits of information on your computer so it knows who you are whenever you visit it next. So if we know we can find the cookies, it's not really that hidden. Once we look at the cookies, we can very often know what the website was that gave you the cookies and why. Again, that is useful evidence. The cookies are usually in standard text file form, so it's easy to read. The internet history, it's a history of which websites were visited. It's useful because it might, especially for, let's say, internet ads, they can look through your internet history. If you're constantly looking through puppy websites that deal with puppy videos, they'll know how to advertise to you, with a lot of puppies dancing around their product, let's say. Anyway, so the internet history, your computer naturally saves all the websites that you've been to, maybe the past week, month, day, whatever it might be. You can also turn it off if you don't want anyone to know your internet history. Anyway, so not only is internet history sometimes saved, it's also sometimes which files were downloaded might have been saved over there. So again, you find this, you can find information on the person who used the computer. And also the bookmarks and the favorite places, the favorites. This is what a person does if he wants to get immediate access to websites, fast access to websites. So if we know what his favorite places are, that'll tell us a lot about what this person does, what this person likes to do. And yes, it will tell us about, whether he might have been involved in the crime. If the crime was let's say he was a horse thief. So we look at his websites. He's constantly looking to how to farms in the neighborhood, what kind of horses they have and how to sell horses or things like that. If these are in his favorites, again, we start suspecting them. Also, there are email communication records. I mean, we all use email, presumably. So again, who the person emailed is important. If the person is a suspect, we want to know who else he contacted. Maybe that other person is even more involved in the crime than he is. Sometimes email itself, he might have sent a threatening email, and we want to know, whether it was him, whether it was this computer, or whether he has, or whether that your email has some relationship to this computer. Usually, you can tell which computer was sent the email. But anyway, it's good to know, evidence-wise, what emails were sent and who they were sent to. Often, the emails that were sent is saved. Sometimes an internet cache. But when the email was sent, the IP address, it goes along with it. And the IP address is used to identify the specific computer that was used. And anyway, deleted emails also sometimes saved in their own place. This often depends on the program used, the internet service provider, the web browser used, and all kinds of things. Whether the emails are saved, where they're saved, how much of them are saved, what parts of them get saved. All this, it really depends on what kind of email program was used. But if it was saved and we can recover it, we deliberately look for that because a person's motives and thoughts and desires are often found in email messages. Sometimes we have to be aware that, let's say, a person was at work and there are like 20 computers that were at the work. The saved emails might not be on his specific computer. The way it were, I mean, maybe, let's say, his computer, needed a lot of memory. So no email information could be saved on that so that he'd have more memory. It would be saved on a different computer. We have to know about that. If it's on a network, we have to find the computer that actually has the email from our suspect. There are also internet instant message communications. Again, very important. People talk, they communicate with that, and they often talk about their crimes, believe it or not, with their instant messaging, especially if they have a partner in crime that they want an instant message. If they send an email might be saved. Instant messages are not. They're just RAM. Once you turn off the computer, it's gone. So people might think that it's safe to use that. Now, it's true that sometimes RAM is put into swap space and can be recovered, but that's not so easy. So it's not easy to recover. It's it's not as easy. But the instant message itself, if possible, we want to see it before it gets turned off. So that's another reason to keep the computer on. If it was found on, we don't turn it off, or we don't immediately unplug it. If the person is in the middle of a chat room dialogue, we want to know what was said. We want to know who the other person is. So it's important to try to get these instant messages, what they were. Again, if the RAM was swapped, then we can try to get it. And some programs, whatever, the internet service provider or whatever it is, the program used to do the chat room dialogue, the chat rooms, or the instant messages. Sometimes they save, let's say, the last conversation, or sometimes they save at least the people whom were contacted via instant message. Even though they might not save the entire message, they have a record of the ones that were communicated with. So again, we want to know that. We want to know who the person communicated with. Maybe they are also involved in the crime. Every computer has an IP address, and whenever an internet service provider allows your computer access, it demands the IP address so it knows where to send the information and how to connect your computer to others. There are crimes that can be committed using the internet. Cyberbullying, even stalking. So the internet service provider definitely has the IP address of whatever computer is, let's say, stalking or cyberbullying. If any criminal message involving that was sent, either email or however it was sent, the internet service provider is notified. Used by the victim, and they will say, "Well, I know the IP address," because they have to know it. They know that they have to provide, by law, the IP address of the computer that contacted the victim. Once we know the IP address, we can identify the computer and see who bought it, and find out where it went, and find the one who used it to commit the crime. So that was a little bit brief because we dealt with a lot of parts of the computer in an earlier lecture. But anyway, what you should know is how to deal with the computer crime scene, including the sketching, keeping the computer on until you can use it, imaging it, finding the information on the image disk. Know that other applications are used that can check for all different kinds of files that might have been hidden, using latent data or visible data, the use of IP addresses, and knowing, again, trying to find instant message information and internet caches and emails and information with that, and why it's important. Here are some homework problems that you can use to get yourself more familiar with this information.